Hub. Here we are today. Another interesting.
Bruce is so excited. Why are you
yes.
so excited? You need to calm down.
Yes, I got to watch my. Okay, so how you doing?
Good. You?
Hey, news for you. I saw you have a new cage.
Mini cage. Yeah. It's like a travel. It's like a travel cage.
A little travel cage, and I like the floor that automatically moves and cleans itself. That's cool. I can't wait to see that this year. We're looking forward to that.
Having events and stuff.
Yeah, nice little portable cage with all the stuff set up. Be neat. So anyway, stay tuned for that. What are we talking about today? As we can probably see, we have a couple different guns here. We're talking about recoil. It seems like we're going to talk about it a different way, but it's a little bit more complicated. We're going to get into the perception of recoil. We'll talk about it for a minute, and then I think we have to have a couple episodes of this where we shoot and look at the recoil. There's different ways people perceive recoil.
Okay.
And so I thought we'd talk about that. Everybody's obsession with recoil. They come in, well, I can't take the recoil. I can't. And the problem with that is how people perceive and what the recoil really is. So I have three different guns here, considerably different guns. And I'll venture to say that people probably won't guess which one has the most recoil. Anyway, there's a 380 LCP here.
Okay.
Okay. And there's a 360 3-7 Magnum here.
Right.
Lightweight. And then there's a Smith 500 here.
Can I take a guess?
Yes.
That one.
Wait a second. Okay. Which one's got the silver dollar under it? Okay. Yes. And the reason is, besides physics, a lot has to do with the grip and stuff. And I get it. People come in, they all want a small semi-automatic.
Right.
And I was talking to an instructor yesterday that was in our shop with one of her students. And we got in a conversation about that. And she's really down on these small little semi-automatics because of the time it takes to learn to shoot it and how bad they kick.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I never really realized it that way. So I started doing some research, and people that are out here that are doing the same kind of research, it's hard to figure out how people want to consider recoil. Some people go and the muzzle jump. Some people test how fast the muzzle jumps. So this one jumps up so high, but then you have to have the same grip on every one, and it's basically impossible.
Right.
So there's the recoil aspect in foot pound or a poundage kick.
Right.
There's a lift of the front, and there's also how fast it is. So some guns have a faster recoil. I'm just going to probably use the wrong terms for this since I'm not a physicist.
Yeah, since we didn't define the terms up front, we're going to confuse everybody.
Yeah.
That would be kind of hard.
So what we're talking about is recoil, what people say recoil is. We're obsessed with recoil. But sometimes we don't realize that some of the guns that are larger have less recoil, or they're easier to control the recoil. Example, this 500 here, and we know how bad they kick.
So just to clarify a little bit, just so people know that maybe don't shoot guns. Obviously, if you shoot guns, you know what recoil is. But if you're not real familiar with guns, the recoil,
what happens when you go off with the trigger?
Is you're firing, and we're back down to Newton.
Yes.
Basically, every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So when you fire a projectile forward out of a gun, the energy that was used to push it forward also pushes backwards.
Correct. Now, and you could, in theory, if this was a test barrel with a test frame, and everything was the same, it could probably come up with a recoil, a measurement that we could understand better. But sometimes some people think that this kicks a lot.
Right.
And I'm one of the ones that, I have a 44 mag lightweight that kicks considerably more than this. And then I have a 357 in this model, actually the even lighter with the titanium, that actually kicks worse than this. So what I mean by kick is it's how fast it recoils in your hand, it's the jump, and it's the sharpness and the duration of the recoil. So it's a complicated, let's just say, how we interpret recoil.
Right.
Okay, and we're all going to interpret different. So we have a gun that weighs this much. We've already safety checked this, I don't know how many times this morning. But when you put this in your hand and feel the weight of that, and then if you notice this grip, notice this here, that gummy substance at the very back there, and notice how big the grip is.
Right.
Now, the first thing you notice is it forces you to hold that gun because, number one, it's extremely heavy, and number two, it's got this huge grip. So you're almost forced to have to hold it.
Right. Yeah, so it's a handshake.
Yes.
This is a handshake.
Yes, and when you shoot one of these, you'll find that it's not that bad.
And for guys, when you do a handshake and you get in on the
If,
handshake,
if it's touching your whole hand,
you ever had somebody like grab the end of your hand and they grab it?
Yeah, that
You're like,
hurts. Yeah.
Ow. No, but if you get your hand in there and you grab, you can grab significant and you don't get your hand hurt. That's exactly what's
now, and the other thing this does, if you notice, it has this interesting muzzle brake on the end.
Right.
And they make two kinds, one for cast and one for jacketed. The jacketed one's got the holes on the top too,
Okay.
so these just unscrew out. So they've done everything they can, and I say this is a very smooth, and we'll have a picture of us shooting it with with holding it.
Right.
Very smooth. It's not quite as snappy, and I think the reason for that is all these things we just said. I'm not sure how heavy that is, but that's got to be close to 50 ounces.
Oh, it's.
Wouldn't you think at least
significant,
55?
Definitely. Yeah.
That's their X frame.
Yeah.
And then you have to realize what they did with the muzzle brake built in, and then what they did with this huge grip, and where they put this gel substance. You can feel it all the way down to about there.
Right.
It's not on any other gun. Then you take, on the other end of the spectrum, this little 380.
Right.
And you put this, and we've done this a few times, and this is a Model 2, which stays open on an empty mag. But feel that, and it's such a little...
Now here you go. I don't like literally almost 2 fingers,
It's gotta
kind
be
of
2
like,
fingers.
and the bottom finger. If you didn't have this here, and some of them have that flush thing, you literally only got a finger on this thing.
Correct. Now, the reason for that is the shorter is going to be easier to hide, but then you still have to holster it somehow.
Right.
But if you look at this little gun, some people with smaller hands think they can hold that well.
Well, they think because it's smaller, it's going to be less powerful.
Correct. But if we're looking at small, no, there's an example of this large gun here.
Right.
It's more designed for holster carry, of course, or chest carry because it is a heavy gun. It's probably as heavy as some .22 rifles, I would probably say.
Yeah, or heavier.
Yeah, but then it's got horsepower. You know, if you needed that kind of horsepower. When you come to this one here, being so light and so little, people think it's easier to control. I've seen it jump out of people's hands, and I've seen men, I'm saying men only because their grip is usually a little stronger. I shouldn't say that anymore, but normally it's not as strong as the strongest grip we've ever had here, which happened to belong to a woman. But normally, I see men that always brag about their grip strength and stuff, have a difficulty shooting this with one hand.
Right.
It jumps and it jams. So it wouldn't necessarily be the best thing for defensive small carry. Now this one, on the other hand, if you put this one, we've done this a couple of times, and this is only just to try to explain what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of weeks. Now they actually extended that a little bit.
Yep. So you get down.
Which
see what we're showing here.
Which, because of the weight of that, I'm going to say you need that grip.
Right.
But it doesn't make up for the fact that it's so light, and if you put a real hot 3-7 in that light weight and that snappiness, it actually recoils worse than the 500.
Yeah.
Now,
and that goes down to the angle of that grip too,
Yes.
and where it's acting on the wrist here.
and you can do the same thing with shotguns. So I thought we'd get into this a little bit because people are coming in. I can't take the recoil, and they can't pull the slides back on the small guns. Or they put their hands like this and they're always pinching their hands. But they can't use a revolver because it's a 10-pound or 11-pound trigger pull. So they have a problem with that. They have a problem with this, and they have a problem with the weight.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
And here's a serious advantage to the range being here,
Yes.
where you can shoot it before you decide to buy a certain type of gun.
Correct. And when we specialize in, well, I'm going to say that I think instead of worried about the recoil so much, this perfect recoil, I say we have to learn how to manage the recoil.
Right.
And that has to do with the grip, and that's what we've been specializing in here, formulating the grip, controlling the grip. By having the grip, it keeps the slide moving correctly on the semi-automatic and not jamming.
Right.
By holding it correctly, it keeps these from raising up, and if you want to get that second shot off. I mean, you and I have talked before about the 44 mags with the short barrels. You can get the second shot off faster and more accurate, close, than you can with a longer barrel because it doesn't lift as much. So I think you need to talk to somebody that's been looking at this and then ask them what you need the gun for and what you're willing to do to learn it. If you're willing to spend more time, then that's one thing. But if you have to at least work on your grip.
Right.
And we're going to specialize in a whole bunch of series on this because I think this is big because every day I run into this. So if I run into it here, and we're not that big.
Right.
How many stores all over the United States every day they come in? It doesn't fit my hand, or they can't seem to make it work. So controlling, I think the better answer, instead of worrying about what the recoil is figuring out what you want the gun for. Now, this is a very specialized gun.
Right.
Okay, so let's just put that aside. But then maybe is a revolver better for you, or maybe a semi-automatic better? What do you need it for, and what's your conditioning on your hands, and what are you willing to do?
But if you're making a movie and you're going to be Clint Eastwood, this is a great gun to have in your hand, right?
Yeah, because you could say it's the most powerful gun instead of like you did before, like what, 30 years ago, which probably was the most powerful gun at the time. So anyway, just think of the recoil. This is going to get a bunch of people talking, because there's always a test. Oh, well, no, the actual poundage on this is much worse than the. Yeah, but you don't perceive it that much because of the way it works in your hand. We've all seen the videos of people on TV with the gun rising up.
You betcha.
And that's all grip, more than there's the gun being able to do that. So we're looking forward to this, and so I'm excited, and hope people get into it, think about recoil, and think about what you want the gun for, and think again about these little semi-automatics, because they don't operate as good as you think they do. So just think about it, and we'd be happy to help.
Hey, remember, you can come shoot lead ammo at the range now, so there's no excuse. Bring your own reloads in, stuff like that.
Do we have lead ammo just kind of set up down there on a rail? You shoot the lead ammo? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's my perception,
right?
We're talking perception. It's my perception.
Yeah, but range is open, same hours as the store, so it'll be 10 to 5 right now, thanks to COVID-19. But you can come on in, shoot, get your lead down range, have some fun.
Have some fun, and then just have questions. We got a lot of talented people here that try to help you with the questions.
Very good, awesome. Hey, I'm Birdman.
And I'm Bruce, and be safe.
Hey, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for all your comments.
Do we have more comments?
We do.
Okay. Thank you very much.